朋友们你好 or hello. After receiving some comments on my last video, which seemed to have more success on the Chinese platform Bilibili that someone uploaded without permission, I have decided to make another video that I hope you'll find semi-informative or entertaining about my life since then. Enjoy! So I'll pick up from where my last video left off, December 2019. Things were starting to get extremely festive here, as Christmas was approaching. We always spent Christmas in the US, so we headed off to the airport and arrived just in time to spread Christmas cheer with family. But suddenly, out of nowhere, the virus struck and our flight was cancelled. Fortunately, we were in the US in the suburbs together and the virus hadn't hit us yet, so we decided to wait it out and stay safe, so those around us could be safe too. We rescheduled our flight for 2 months later and began exploring places we'd never seen before. But then things became worse and our flight was cancelled again. This was fine too. We could just continue to hang out with nature, take road trips to sparsely populated areas, and get some fresh air while the world tried to heal. I took up a little gardening, growing flowers from seeds that nature seemed to appreciate. I grew some other plants as well, like tomatoes. Although things got a little repetitive after a while, seeing the same faces over and over, we remained hopeful our next flight would take off. But it didn't, and things were getting even worse. So much worse. My husband's visa was just limited to 6 months stays, and time was running out. But we could extend it by submitting Form I-539 and $455, so we did that, and went back to dabbling in some nerdy activities, like putting a Chinese passport under a UV light to see hidden words and pictures. I mean, we couldn't use our passports right now, so at least they could serve as a source of entertainment. Same with my Chinese green card. Very interesting. But a new problem arose. I needed to spend 3 months in China every year to keep that card. Fortunately, online buddies showed us the way. Instead of looking for a flight back to China from the US, we just needed a flight from anywhere in the world to China. The Air China app, not sponsored, let us add our name to a waiting list with guaranteed flights. By submitting our information, they would send us a text message when there was another available flight. About a month later, we received a text from Incheon, South Korea to Hangzhou, China in September for $400 or $500 for business class. We took it and then booked a one-way ticket from Boston to Incheon via Korean Air for $1,000. Then we hopped in a car and headed to Boston. There were still some obstacles along the way that we needed to prepare before our flight, like health tests. So we arrived a few days earlier than our flight at a hotel next to the airport. It looks like that. It was the most convenient as it connects directly with the airport without the need to get a taxi, rental car, or shuttle. Though some people prefer just to use the hotel's complimentary shuttle to travel back and forth from the airport, as it does take quite a bit of time on foot, and it is a bit of a maze if you don't know where you are going. But there were plenty of signs to guide us along the way. Hey, if we can do it, I am sure that anyone can. Finally, at the hotel. I really recommend using this hotel, even though I am not sponsored by them. It's just that it was very clean, quiet, and comfortable. They let you check in with an app on your phone so you can minimize your interaction with people. And you could even open your hotel room door on that app as well instead of using a traditional key card. Maybe I just don't travel enough to see that this is a trend now. But it was all new to me. Oh, there were also signs that said only 2 people per elevator for social distancing, which I thought was a good policy too. You can see as we go down the hall that they have sealed the doors with a sticker indicating it has been cleaned and is ready, which I thought was a good idea as well. Now we are able to rest a bit in our hotel room before our nasal swab test the next day. After taking that test, the stressful part of waiting for our negative results and the health declaration form from the Chinese consulate lie ahead. But that was a problem for another day, and it was time for bed. In the morning, we took the free Silver Line SL1 bus from the airport into the city to reach our testing site. We didn't need an appointment or money, we just needed to show up. Surprisingly, there was no line at all. We could pretty much just walk right in, though they gave us some sanitizer for our hands first and asked for our personal details like name, email, and phone number, but a very quick and painless process overall. Once we were done, we headed out with our masks on in Chinatown for a bite to eat, since it was right there. And then we strolled past a very scenic park on our way to get some last-minute grocery items for the plane and our quarantine hotel. After that, we headed back to our hotel to patiently and anxiously wait for our results. Thankfully, they arrived the next day and we were both negative. So we sent them off to be approved by the Chinese consulate via email, and we received a response within an hour. We received both a declaration form for me and a green health code for my husband, as this code wasn't available to non-Chinese at that time. We arrived at the airport super early, which was good because there was an issue with getting our bags to check through in South Korea. They had to actually call Korean Air in South Korea to get them to override the error code in their system. So we waited for that phone call. But once that was all sorted, we were good to go. Our first flight actually was from Boston to Detroit. At that time, there were not many international flights through Boston, so we needed to stop there first. At least there were snacks. And the flight went by really quickly. Before we knew it, it was time to descend. And then head over to the gate of our next flight. After waiting a little bit, it was time to board. From my seat, I could watch them load our bags onto the aircraft. See? There's my bag. This is when picking a non-black bag comes in handy. I waited and waited for them to load my husband's bag, but when I finally spotted it, it seems they ran out of space and needed to move it to another part of the plane. Oh well. Then we were off again, and soaring high into the sky. This flight was much longer than the other. About 14 hours to be precise. We've gotten used to it though, and we were in high spirits. They fed us well. Meal after meal. Finally, we made it to South Korea. And this was my first time there, so everything was new to me. As there weren't many people on the plane, we were able to get off rather quickly. Though we still tried to follow the social distancing guidelines that were marked in blue circles below our feet. Once out, though, we were stopped by these staff members to check our health declaration forms. If we didn't have the right documents, we would have to go all the way back to the US. Luckily, they quickly approved our documents and we were on our way to our departure terminal. It was 4:26 p.m. there, and our next flight wasn't until 1 p.m. the next day. So we headed to the transit hotel to get washed up and sleep for 12 hours inside the airport. This was the best thing ever. After a long flight in economy class, there is no better feeling than being able to lie flat on a bed and take a shower. After we were well rested, we got some breakfast in the business lounge. Then we headed to our gate and saw most people were wearing hazmat suits, so we put on ours as well, to fit right in with everyone else headed to China. Then we filled out the customs declaration form at both the national and city level, had our temperature taken, and lined up at our gate to have our documents checked one last time. We boarded and could finally heave a sigh of relief. We are on our way back to China. Just in time to renew our apartment lease and satisfy my 3-month residency requirement. It had been quite a journey so far, but the adventure was far from over. At least we had plenty of legroom on this short journey. We took off without a hitch into blue skies, and before long we quickly descended down to China on a slightly rainy day. We took another nasal swab test in both nostrils and answered health screening questions. Then we were free to pass through customs and wait for our bus to take us to the quarantine hotel. Once on the bus, we didn't know what hotel we would end up in, or maybe I just didn't hear them say where we were going in Chinese. Whatever the case, I decided to entertain myself by turning on my GPS and playing the "Where are we going?" game. After about 45 minutes, we finally arrived to this mysterious hotel, and we were sorted into rooms. Family members were separated. We were to be isolated. But after filling out some paperwork and asking the floor manager to let us be in the same room, they finally agreed. So this would be our place for the next 14 days. Oh, and each time we used the bathroom, we needed to drop 2 chlorine tablets into the toilet and wait 10 minutes before flushing. Fun. We were told to try to get some sunlight from the window, but it rained every day. So I just people watched instead. They offered a set meal plan, which my husband opted into, but you were also permitted to order takeout or groceries on Tuesdays and Saturdays, so I waited for those days, which were far better, because you could choose what you wanted to eat. Like this day, we bought the food famously referred to as street barbecue. And FYI, barbecued tofu skin with garlic is amazing. My husband prefers the lamb skewers though. On other days I made do with what we had stockpiled, trying to hit all the food groups. Days were spent doing some aerobics like walking in place, laundry in the sink, and most importantly just staying comfy and sane. Before we knew it, and after another throat and blood test, we were free to leave the hotel in Hangzhou. We could now head back to Shenzhen. So we hopped in a cab to the airport and booked a flight along the way. Flights were really cheap in comparison and plentiful, so we treated ourselves. The business class again. I never flew this airline before, but the flight attendants were super sweet and treated us really, really well. Then we quickly took off to Shenzhen. It was really pretty at night with all the city lights shining brightly. The flight was really short too, just under 2 hours. After some tasty refreshments, it was time to land back in the tech hub we called home. Getting off the flight was kind of interesting. We got off directly on the tarmac and we were placed into a shuttle bus or a van to separate business class passengers from the others to reach the baggage claim terminal. I think the staff member responsible for guiding business class passengers into the van wasn't sure there was enough space for us, or she didn't think we looked like typical business class passengers. But then our nice flight attendant vouched for us, and we were free to board as well. After what seemed like a long journey around the airport, we could finally pick up our luggage. Then, as it was quite late at this point and we had our locks changed while abroad, we took a cab back to a hotel near our home. Although we were quite tired of hotels at this point, this one was quite nicer than our quarantine one, so no complaint. The great thing about a city like Shenzhen is you can order food no matter how late it is at night. The hotel even had a robot for such deliveries as a way to continue to practice social distancing measures. That first day back in Shenzhen was great, made better by electronic curtains that opened with the tap of a button near the bed. So fancy. Shenzhen seemed to have changed so much in the months that we've been gone, but now we could finally catch up. We ate some complimentary breakfast before heading home, which was buffet style, and just like that, life resumed as we were never gone. Of course, now there were many new safety measures in place. Those riding the subway and public buses need to wear a mask at all times, and there would be officers patrolling to make sure people complied. But other than that, we were free to roam as we pleased, and we didn't have to wear a mask when we were outside and away from people. But we still wore ours. We indulged in some of our favorite meals, such as steak for my husband and chicken for me. And just when we thought our adventure was over, another one began. Though it took some time for it to sink in. Quite some time. For both of us. It was Halloween and my husband's birthday at this point in the story. So I bought him a cake with his favorite cartoon to go along with this gift he's wanted since marriage. And life continued with the occasional indulgence. Now we had some extra appointments and expenses thrown in the mix. And 2020 was the first year ever that we spent Christmas together in China. It wasn't that bad though. Shenzhen really does get into the spirit, but we certainly missed our loved ones back home. They always made the holiday more special. The new year came and went, and I felt like we had grown so much in such a small period of time. This is my favorite Chinese restaurant, by the way. And with each passing day, our little one continues to grow bigger. Questions about nationality, education, standard of living, and cultural differences are now daily topics that keep popping up in our life. But I think we are ready to face those obstacles, as so many have done so before us. Well, time will tell anyway. Okay, I think that's enough of an update and glimpse into my life. Thanks for watching and for your interest. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the space below. If you like this kind of video, click like or feel free to subscribe.